Welcome in. I have my DNA results. Some of you were almost excited as I was when I got this as a gift for Christmas and my birthday. Now, I admit I did record this like the very next day, or should I say the same day, because this actually came through very early in the morning, and the next day I did a video exactly like this. An hour and 13 minutes I went through everything. There was blubbing, there was giggling, and there were a lot of face pullings. But I won't bore you with an hour and 13 minutes this time, because I'm having to re-record because there was no sound whatsoever. So this time I'm going to fast pace some of it, a lot of it, wheedle it down, and then you've still got at least some of the results. So let's go in. If I can find my mouse, there we go. Explore DNA results. Okay. Go away, go away, go away. So, discover my DNA story. So it states that I'm 57% England and Northwestern Europe. What I will point out, I don't know if you can just about see those circles, but some of them are solid and some of them have a ring around them. If they're solid, the heritage goes right back. If they're dotted, it means they're more recent. I think within the last I want to say 100 years. I might be completely wrong, and I apologise. I've forgotten completely how it works out. I don't know if it's going to tell me. Let me just see. It's not going to tell me there. I don't want to play a whole video inside a video. And it doesn't say there. Well, this is really good. I mean, I had all this right at the beginning when I first opened it all up, and I knew back then, and I can't remember now. I just remember that the solid is further back, and oh, there you go. Oh no, that's different, and it's different again. The solid is much further back, and the dots is more recent. So anyway, I digress. So England and Northwestern Europe, 57%. Germanic Europe, woohoo, 27%. That's the one that I was after. That's the one I was hoping for, but I was hoping it'd be more than 30. It's very close at 27. I'm still happy. Ireland, 6%. Eastern Europe and Russia, 6%. Scotland, 2%. Sweden and Denmark, 2%. So let's go back. So the good thing with this is that it shows you roughly where you actually come from, and it gives you the brief history as to where the reason why movement may have happened. So this says your ethnicity estimate is 57% England and Northwestern Europe, but it can range from 47 to 67%. It says your connection to this region is most likely through ancestors linked to these communities in Devon and Cornwall, Greater London, and central southern England. It gives you a brief history of each thingy, of each region. Like I said, one that surprised me was it kind of specifically went to Cornwall and gave me more specific, even though there are history pages. I don't know if you can see these. I hope you can. Yeah, you can see them. When it's got that little bit on it, the little extra, that shows you migration and the probable reason why. So my first bit, I won't read all the histories to you. I won't bore you that much, but I'll do the key points. So it says 1825 to 1850, Cornwall, the mining capital. Demand for Cornish tin and copper was growing worldwide, and mining quickly became the county's largest industry. Working in the mines was often a family affair. Men climbed down into the pits and emerged with large pieces of ore, which women and children would break into smaller pieces. Nearly all mine workers, regardless of age or gender, worked 10-hour days, 6 days a week. When a boy was 12 or 13 years old, he was considered old enough to climb down into the mines himself, where temperatures reached 60 centigrade, and one careless step could result in a 30-metre fall. The next significant date is 1875, only 50 years later. 1875 to 1900, the Cornish Exodus. Between 1861 and 1900, 3/4 of Cornish men between the ages of 15 and 24 left Cornwall, as did more than half of women aged 15 to 24, taking advantage of the popular belief that the Cornish were naturally superior hard rock miners compared to other immigrant populations. They easily found work in mines in the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. Those who weren't miners found work as merchants, farmers, or tradesmen. Because they were English-speaking and Protestant, they were largely shielded from the discrimination that other communities faced when arriving in their adopted countries. So over here we have England, and specifically there's Cornwall, and look at all the migration trails. So they're going right to South East Australia, over to North America on the east, and even a little bit on the west, and then up and out to who knows where, all over the place, and New Zealand. So Cornwall, the reason for Germany, London, they went to London, and the funky thing is, look, I've got Mary Bosley, who's my 4th great grandmother, I think, says people from your family tree with birth or death dates in this time period are plotted on the map. So she was just there, 1750. And 1750 was the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution began to attract workers into the cities for jobs in newly built factories. Few laws regulated factory working hours or safety, and many people worked 14-hour days, 6 days a week. Children as young as 7 could be employed in factories and paid a fraction of an adult's wages. In addition to working class families, wealthy families also began to move from the countryside into London, particularly West London. For upper class, intellectual or political men, London's coffee houses became a popular place to meet, socialise and debate ideas. A person's political affiliation determined which coffee house he frequented. So at this time, my 4th great-grandmother, I know nothing about her. It's a complete guesstimate. I have got her in my tree because she fits with everything. It doesn't mean that she is related to me, but she fits with everything in my tree. So She is just there, right near Woodstock, close to Thrupp. Can we get any closer? No, there she is. So let's zoom out again a little bit. 1800 to 1825. Industrialisation brought drastic changes to lifestyles. Urban working class neighbourhoods were overcrowded, and houses themselves were sometimes no more than a single room with poor light and ventilation. Water came from a communal standpipe. Closed sewage systems weren't available in most places until the late 19th century, and water sources were often contaminated with tuberculosis, typhoid and cholera. The air itself in London was known for being sooty and foul smelling. Long work days meant that working class families rarely had time for leisure or recreation. Markets and shops became the social outings for many. Then we step forward a little bit to 1825. And right now, people in my tree, I have somebody over here. Job Buckingham, who I'm pretty sure is my side, but I don't entirely know. He's just here in Eynsham, fourth great-grandfather. And he's during this time. England's middle class grew in the mid-19th century, and hiring domestic servants was no longer limited to aristocrats. As the Victorian era opened, most married women were expected to stay at home to oversee servants' work and care for children. Education for women was discouraged, and unmarried women attended school to learn skills that were deemed feminine, including music, dancing, and modern languages. Gender roles were less rigid among the working classes, since schools were typically too expensive for children to attend, and all family members, regardless of gender, began working at a young age. So the next significant point is 1875 for me, and I have two people here, and these are guaranteed, or at least one of them is guaranteed in my family tree. I just don't know which one is which, or if they're one of the same person and they moved, but one of them definitely is my second great-grandfather, and that's because it is both. Sorry, I apologize, because one was named after his dad, so it's my grandfather's father's father. There you go, something like that. So they were here again in the heat of everything in London. And the read says, London became a model of cultural and technological advances in the late 19th century. Its tube network was the first of its kind in the world, and slums were being cleared to make way for wider, well-lit avenues. Education began to be seen as a right, and government funding for schools throughout England increased during this period, allowing some working-class children to attend school for the first time. Beginning in 1880, school was compulsory for children between the ages of 5 and 10, and by the turn of the century, literacy had become nearly universal. So that's the London part. If I go to central southern England, it says that I have a couple of matches there, but I don't know who they are. So I'm going to go to 1775, which is a key point, apparently. And we can see migration is happening to Australia and to America. While the Industrial Revolution picked up steam, life for the people in southern England generally remained unchanged. Manufacturing and technological developments in the north weren't replicated in the rural south. Women typically worked in crafts and cottage industries, which they taught to their daughters. Men worked in trades, which they taught to their sons. However, a massive population increase during the 19th century, an economic downturn after the Napoleonic Wars, put my teeth in next time, and the crowded urban landscapes of London pushed some people to seek opportunities elsewhere. America and Australia, with an abundance of land, were the most enticing destinations. We go to 1825, and here, still in this period, we have Job Buckingham, Mary Bosley, and now John Goddard. Apparently there's more. Oh, and Elizabeth Louch. I don't know who any of them are, but they're in my tree, in the hope that I think they might be, because they fit with everything. So it says, cramped and crowded. Southern England's population continued to grow. Unless people were well off, housing tended to be cramped. Gas lighting in homes wasn't commonly available until the latter part of the century, and life in cities was crowded and dirty. Those crushed by the industrial boom, particularly young, married working class people, sought land in British-supported colonies such as Australia. The emigrants during this time were mostly working class. The Industrial Revolution had heightened class divisions and led many people to realise that the rural farm life they had once known was no longer possible, so they left. And then we move on to 1875, where more people come in to play. I now have a Thurza Buckingham, a Sarah Tyrrell, Philip Goddard, John Goddard, who are all in this time. So, growth of the middle class. Although the latter part of the 19th century was marked by extreme economic inequality, it was also a time when the middle class expanded. They enjoyed more leisure time and could allot more money to fashion and the comforts of home. These advantages were not available to the working poor who laboured in mills and factories. English colonial culture in areas such as Australia continued to attract emigrants from southern England during the first decades of the 20th century. In America, improved transportation and farming methods allowed people to settle in more diverse areas, such as the Pacific Northwest. So there they are, all travelling to Oz and America. And then we go back and we go to the Germanic part. Here we are, here's Germany. So your ethnicity estimate is 27%, but it can range from 27 to 59%. So it says the dramatic landscape of the Germanic Europe region rises from Dutch and German lowlands along the North Sea through forested uplands to Austria's Alps in the south. The German people were united by language and culture before Germany became a united country in 1871, known as Das Land der Dichter und Denker, the land of poets and thinkers. Germany is home to some of the oldest universities in the world, and this region has a long tradition of producing world-class scientists, inventors, theologians, artists, and composers. And with any of these, I'm not going to do it, but with any of these, you can go into a complete, full history like that. I won't do it to you. I won't. So let's go back. That's my German. Yeah. Ireland, 6%. Your ethnicity estimate is 6%, but it can range from 0 to 10. It says, our island population region is centred on this small island, famed for its emerald green landscape, vibrant Celtic folklore, and deep-rooted spirit of hospitality. The region's Celtic heritage is notable in its culture, landscape, and the lyrical dialects of the Irish language spoken here. The island boasts a rich sporting culture with Gaelic football, hurling, rugby and football, and is famous for its literary prowess as well, with names like Swift, Joyce, Yeats, O'Brien and Rooney. After centuries of emigration, most notably during the Irish famine, 1845 to 1849, this island is the original home of an Irish diaspora that is estimated at over 100 million members. That's Ireland. Next, we go to the bit that actually made me cry at the time. Eastern Europe and Russia. So it says I'm on 6% and my ethnicity estimate is ranging anywhere between 0 and 13. But I'll do the region first before I go into the little bits. So it says our Eastern Europe and Russian region stretches from the Baltic Sea in the north to the Adriatic in the south. The landscape is a mix of mountains, rivers and plains and stands at the crossroads of Europe and Central Asia. By the 5th century AD, Slavic peoples were moving west into the modern-day Central Europe, followed by Magyars, I don't know, who settled Hungary. The Slavic peoples are now the largest linguistic and ethnic group in Europe, and the region's legacy of beauty and civilization lives on in famed world cities such as Prague, Kiev, Moscow and Budapest. So it is saying that recently I have connections in Western Czechia. So if I click in there, it says you and all the members of this community are linked through shared ancestors. You probably have family who lived in this area for years and maybe still do. So there's nothing significant about the history over here, so I will move on. But it's a really, really good history, I have to say. Yes, I have read it. Northeast Poland. The more specific places within this region where your family were likely from is central. This bit that I'm highlighting down to. So it says, Poland is a large and populous country that traces its powerful political lineage back to the 900s. The county has long been inhabited by Poles and other ethnic groups, including Jews, Lithuanians, Germans and Ukrainians. It's historically agricultural with fertile soil and favourable climate. Poles speak Polish, a Slavic language, and are predominantly Roman Catholic. Poland to this day is one of the most religiously devout countries in Europe. Poles also comprise one of the world's largest diaspora communities, with some 20 million people of Polish heritage living outside Poland. So if I go into here, now I have a friend who lives here and I had to let him know that I was part Pole. He was quite chuffed, which I knew he would be, which is why I told him, but you know, had to fill him in. So that's the bit that I just did, isn't it? Yes, that's the bit I just did. Stop clicking on things you've already clicked on. So there's another part of Poland that I'm traced to, and also that little bit up there, the West Central Poland. Okay, the other bit that I wanted to cry, Scotland, 2%. It does say, surprised by your Scotland result? Yes, I am. It says your ethnicity estimate is 2%, but it can range from 0 to 10. With its centre in the northern third of the island of Great Britain, but stretching down to Brittany in France, look down here. Our Scotland ethnicity region is known for its geographical beauty, medieval architecture and folklore. Gaelic and Scots have influenced regional English dialects and are both still spoken in some areas. National symbols, including the lion rampant, clan tartans and bagpipes, are often recognised internationally alongside symbols of traditional cuisine like whisky and haggis. And then the other one was Sweden and Denmark, which really surprised me. But then I thought, why would that surprise me? Because on my female side, everybody's blonde or started blonde and got darker, except me. Never been blonde. Everybody else in the family was. So it says your ethnicity estimate is 2%, but it can range from 0 to 14%. Our Sweden and Denmark region emerged from glacial ice as lands of lakes and islands, mountains and plains. Though the countries were often at war, the people share a common Norse heritage that includes elements of language, religion and art, though they eventually developed cultures of their own. Situated along the western boundary of the Baltic Sea, relative geographic isolation did not stop the Swedes and the Danes from influencing culture, trade and politics in Europe and around the globe. So there we go. That was that bit. But there's more, because this is where I bawled at this bit down here. So it says about DNA communities. So if I come out a little bit, that's where my main heritage is situated, all around here. So if I go, oh no, I'm not supposed to click. If I go down a little bit more, it then gives me the DNA matches. And I'm looking at this going, no, okay, what's in here a little bit? And I saw here, now this is Germany, and I can feel it coming on again. This is Germany. There's one little hit in Germany. And if I click it, the name is Torsten. I can't work out how he's related to me. He is Oma's, my grandmother's cousin's son. Torsten I know about. I've never been in contact with him, but I know about him. And to see that he's done this, to see that he's on the map, meant the world to me. Even though I might not be in contact and I don't know how to contact him and I don't know exactly what the relation is, I can't work it out properly. To know that there's one person on here that I know amazes me. Amazes me. So I've got approximately 20 people in the UK that are related. I don't know any of them. I don't know any of them apart from Torsten on the map. I'll throw that out there now. But there are 20 in the UK. If I move over, there are 24 over in the United States. So if I go in a little bit, I've got Utah, Wyoming, Washington, California, Arizona, what's that, Texas? Yep, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Michigan, Wisconsin. And then if I go over a little bit more, there are 3 in New Zealand, 5 in southeastern Australia, and 1 in southwestern Australia. So I've got a lot of matches, and practically all of them say that I'm a fourth cousin. I think that's a load of poop. But of course they can only match with people that have done this DNA test. But they're likely to have some sort of relation to me in some sort of way. So by the looks of it, I have relations over in America. I have them in Australia. I have them in the UK. So the next funky thing with this was the traits. So if I go back, scroll down a little bit, scroll up a little bit. My traits. I'm only going to read the ones that I found pretty accurate. There were 4 or 5 that were no, but they were pretty accurate. I mean, you'd hope they were accurate, but oh dear. So let me scroll down. I've got pretty much average of all of these, except the beta carotene, which I'm pretty low on apparently, but everything else I'm pretty average. Woohoo! Fitness made me laugh a lot. The muscle fatigue, now that did say that, I'll click into that one. Your muscles may tire at about an average rate. Now that one is a little bit poop because I have hypermobility and I have fibromyalgia, so they don't tire at an average rate. They tire like more than double, if not triple the rate, so that's pretty bad. I have the sprinter gene. I have a high heart recovery, and my endurance fitness is pretty high. Alcohol flush, that said that I don't get red cheeks when I drink. This is something that I found interesting, so I'm going to click into this one because I thought this was the same for everybody. It says, your DNA suggests you probably notice a distinctive smell when you urinate after eating asparagus. Doesn't everybody? But I'll read it out. We looked at one key genetic marker or location in your DNA to estimate whether or not you notice the telltale asparagus in urine odour. But there's probably more to the genetic story here. Other scents that people might have difficulty smelling, for better or worse, include sweaty, fishy, malty, musky and minty odours. So this says it's non-genetic factors don't play a significant role in this trait. I thought asparagus was distinct for everybody. Everybody can smell it. Yeah, I can. But I thought that was a norm. Caffeine consumption is average, apparently. I would have said it was much more below average, but heck. It does say I have a bitter sensitivity. I love bitter and sour. I don't have a lactose intolerance. Sun sneezing, I'll click on that one because that's kind of, sort of. Your DNA suggests that you probably don't sneeze when exposed to bright light. Correct. I don't. You're going to sneeze. Look at the sun. Look at the sun. No, nothing. We tested 2 markers or locations in your DNA to estimate your result, but there's likely more to the genetic story here. Did you know as far back as 350 BC, the Greek philosopher Aristotle discussed the phenomenon in his Book of Problems, theorising that the heat of the sun caused a tickle in the nose, which led to sneezing. So it says for this test, we looked at 2 markers that have been linked to photic sneeze reflex. One on chromosome 2, near the ZEB2 gene, and the other on chromosome 15, near the NR2F2 gene. Whether or not bright light makes you sneeze is entirely determined by genetics. It doesn't. So I'm blaming my genetics for that one. I'm kind of grateful though. I don't want to go outside and sneeze constantly. The savoury thing. Your DNA suggests you're probably extra sensitive to umami or savoury flavours. I hate salt. I can taste it in the smallest of things and I hate it. So I'm going with that. Some foods with the highest levels of naturally occurring monosodium glutamate, MSG, include seaweed, fish sauce, soy sauce, and Australian food spread Vegemite. Taste sensitivities are strongly influenced by things like diet and how often you're exposed to a particular food. I hate salt. I don't like salt. I don't do salt. Birth weight, it came out that I was average. Earlobe type, I can't even work out my own. This will make me giggle. Earwax type. I thought everybody was the same, but apparently I'm wrong. You'll learn, you know. Your DNA tells us that you probably have wet earwax. I do. I thought everybody did. Oops. Earwax type is a fairly easy trait to predict because it's almost entirely determined by a single gene. Still, there's always a chance that other factors could play a role. The same gene that controls earwax type also plays a role in a person's underarm odour. Oh my. Your earwax type is entirely determined by genetics. I have wet earwax. That's exciting, isn't it? It said that I have dark eye colour. It said that I'm pretty low on the facial hair thickness. Now, my moustache is coming in, but thankfully it's still pretty fine. Hoping that I grow out of it rather than grow into it. Finger length. Okay. So, there's my fingers. Can you see? Can you see? Can you see? Can you see? This is my ring finger. This is my pointy finger. Okay. Bear that in mind. It says your DNA tells us your ring finger may be longer than your index pointy finger. It is. We know genes play a role in determining digit ratio or the relative length of your index and ring fingers, but there are other things going on that could have influenced how long your fingers are. A biological female who shared a womb with a male twin will have a longer ring finger than she might otherwise have had because she was exposed to her brother's testosterone. More testosterone exposure in utero has been linked to a longer ring finger. I do take after my father a little bit more than my mother, so that could explain a fair old few things. So there's that. Freckles. Now, it's said that I probably don't have freckles. I used to have freckles right across my band, and as I've grown older, they've faded away. So I used to, but not anymore. But that says I don't. Hair colour, it did say that I was dark. Hair strand thickness, it said that I was thick, average or thick? Average thickness. It's not. It's extra, extra, extra fine. So they're actually completely wrong about this one. It says age and sex both play a role in this trait. Men tend to have thicker hair strands than women, and everyone's strands get thinner as they age. Mine have gotten... I mean, I've always had fine hair, but it's gotten finer since about the age of puberty, roughly. Hair type, they were pretty good with that. They said I've got wavy hair. I do. Naturally wavy. Yep. Factors like climate and age can also play a role in this texture. Our earliest ancestors likely had curly hair. Straight hair may have become more common during the Ice Age, about 65,000 years ago. Because straight hair lays against the skin, it may have provided more protection from the cold. Well, I was useless then with me wavy hair, wasn't I? So scroll down. Iris patterns, I don't understand. I've got to look into that a lot more. Skin pigmentation, unibrow, wisdom teeth. It's said that I've probably had all my wisdom teeth. I have. Probably developed all your wisdom teeth. I did. I had them all out at 18. All gone. This trait has been studied extensively, and there may be non-genetic factors that influence it. Here's one wacky reason why you might be missing your wisdom teeth. Scientists have found a link between having numbing shots in your gums as a young child, I never did, and getting wisdom teeth later on in life. So, I have raced through this to try and make sure that you're not as bored as heck. But the DNA results are in. I am overly happy that the German is in there. I really am. Thank you, Beanie. Appreciate it. Cheers. Really am. I have gone a little bit more into things on my own. There's some amazing bits. I have tried to reach out to Torsten because you can send a message via this thing. I don't even know if he knows about me or remembers me, and he definitely won't know my surname, but I have reached out. So we'll see what happens. Beanie is eager to get on this chair, so I better move my butt. But I hope that my little bit has made you go, ooh, maybe. Maybe it might even encourage you to do one for yourself. Who knows? I have thoroughly loved this, and I am so grateful for the resource. Technology is flipping amazing. We might be ruining the entire world around us, but the world around us from the past is now what shapes this world right now. Careful how you shape it. This is Lisa from LadybirD Loves. Maybe give a thumbs up. This isn't a regular thing, but heck, if you're willing, subscribe down below. And maybe I'll see you next time. Bye bye.